Hi, my name is Kedar, and I'm probably having a midlife crisis because I've decided to start a vinyl collection in 2026. In this economy? With what money? But I'm not just buying a bunch of albums just to have a bunch of albums and like be some music snob and be really cool on the internet. No. Bad people. I am using these albums as gateways to revisit some memories that I have that are associated with the albums. And I'm hoping to sort of time travel a little bit because music is a time machine. Okay, so it's 1998. I'm 18 years old. I'm standing in line at the Roseland Ballroom for my first concert ever. I am so excited. And also dying because social anxiety. I spent my entire high school life being supremely jealous of my friends because they all seemed to have money to go to concerts, and I had no money to do any of that. All I had was K-Rock.
This is Rock Radio 92.3 K-Rock.
That was the radio station. We had it good. Now, to make it even more magical, MTV was covering the concert. They were going around shooting and filming. It was like a big deal.
We're going to be doing a show at Roseland on Sunday night.
2,000 of them for free. Get there at 8 a.m. Get in.
This is Lenny Kravitz last night.
This concert was a preview of music from Alanis Morissette's second album, supposed former infatuation Junkie. Obviously, you all know about Jagged Little Pill. It took over the whole universe. It was a really big deal that Alanis was going to do a follow-up album. I mean, she toured Jagged Little Pill for like 2 years non-stop. She went around the world like twice. It was insane. And then, like, you gotta remember, she was like 20 years old, dude. Like, that's monstrous. We were all freezing. It was like October. And I remember people being so excited because there was like whispers in the line because it's like Madonna brought Lenny Kravitz with her to the show. So people were like, oh my God, Madonna's here, Lenny Kravitz is here, oh my God. It was just so like, you know, I had never been to a concert before, and I'm like in line, I'm hearing there's like famous people there, and like my first concert, I'm just like, I'm 18 and I'm thrilled, man. It was really beautiful to be so scared and so excited at the same time. I was so anxious also because I just had really bad social anxiety for most of my young life. So then, of course, one of the MTV cameramen stick their camera in my face and ask me something I don't even remember, and my anxiety shot to the fucking roof. And all I remember is being like, blah 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 blah. I said something, and then I was like, cut, because I was so uncomfortable. But honestly, this is one of my favorite memories because I felt like I was in a dream. You know, I was in line. I was going to see a concert. I was excited. I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. We were in line for hours. It was freaking cold. I had this thin little hoodie on. It was just so cool to be a part of this group with all this crackling energy. Now, the thing I like about this album, why it's one of my favorite albums, is because I actually learned a lot from this album at my young age. Because the album came out, I think, November. The concert was October. The album came out in November, 98. So I was still 18. And I do remember like being taken aback by the album a little bit. Now, I felt like this album was not aimed at radio success. And I remember being shocked that the single Thank You was such a big hit. Like, because after all the singles from Jagged Little Pill and that whole thing, and Alanis sort of being branded this like man-hating, fiery banshee, which if you actually listen to Jagged Little Pill, she's not really that. There's some of that, but she's not that. Music Press was very misogynistic at the time, so it was a lot. And it was funny because Uninvited was such a huge hit that you would figure Alanis would throw Uninvited onto the album, and she did not, even though that would have probably guaranteed that it would have sold even more copies. And I kind of respect that choice to not do that. Now, it has to be said, this cover is gorgeous. I love this cover so much. And I kind of love the cover because it's a little bit of a joke. Like, it's saying, yeah, this album is talky. And I know this album is talky, but guess what? You getting a talky album, and you're gonna deal with it. And guess what? I'm putting my big talky mouth right on the cover, and that's what it is. But I really just think it's absolutely a gorgeous cover. I've always loved this cover. I've always loved the artwork for this album. This is the back. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Alanis and her big mouth. I also think it's a very brave and interesting choice to not have her face on the cover of the album. I feel like at the time there was a lot of like female artists need to have their face on the cover because we're not just selling their music, we're selling their sexiness. And I remember the Janet album, I think it was the same year, actually, Velvet Rope, another album I love. She had her head down on that album, and I remember that was like, I remember reading in some reviews like it was kind of a big deal for like the biggest superstar to like not show her face on an album. Like some people I felt like were mad at her for doing that, which was really weird. Joni Mitchell's Chalk Mark in a Rainstorm, she's half covering her face too. So I think there's something to be said about kind of downplaying your beauty so that the focus is on the music, and I think that's always a really interesting and smart choice for an artist. I think this album is the sound and the documentation of a woman trying to heal herself after becoming so famous that all her anonymity was gone, all her privacy was basically gone. And the world is, she's 20 and the world is like writing about her body and who she slept with and who had a BJ in a theater, and you know, yeah, I think this album is kind of an ego death. You know, the more I listened to the album, the more I really kind of dug into the lyrics, I realized like this was the sound of an artist that's excavating things inside of her and her family and the world and her position now and her fame. And I like this album as like almost a rebuke to people who really put her in a very small box with Jagged Little Pill. But if you listen to Unsent, she's looking at herself and, you know, saying, why did she tolerate toxic partners? She's looking at her own part in relationships. It's not just external blame. It's also like, what was my part here? Because it takes two for a relationship to fall apart.
I used to be attracted to boys who would lie to me.
You know, if you listen to The Couch, she's putting herself in the perspective of her father as he starts therapy, which is like, that's some singer-songwriter shit. Like, I love that.
Can you imagine I pay him $75 an hour?
She has a song called One in which she kind of like takes the piss out of herself a bit and like acknowledges her white lady privilege long before it was like popular. Katy Perry, oof, terrible.
I've got ton candy for my self-interest. The sexy treadmill capitalist.
And things of that nature. I think that's really honest and brave to like put that out on a record. This record, the second record, the sophomore record, where most people just wanted a Jagged Little Pill Part 2. Well, there's a song called Baba that I really like. It's the second song on the album. And it's interesting because, you know, there's that cliche of like white people going to India and getting their spirituality and all this kind of things. And she did do that. But the song is also about her looking around and seeing other international tourists going to India and trying to buy their salvation. And then she's also calling out spiritual leaders that she saw who were taking advantage of that situation and sort of like dangling salvation in front of these people. Like if they can pay enough, they can get it. You know, and that's really interesting.
Watch you smile as the students bow to kiss your feet.
And she talked about the hypocrisy that she saw. And then at the end of the song, she has this coda where she's doing Ave Marias. So it's like interesting that she had went to India and was seeing all these male figures sort of doling out spiritual candies, I guess. That's my own Alanicism, spiritual candies. And then she kind of like rejects that and then ends up like embracing a female figure of spirituality by chanting Ave Maria. So it's a really interesting song, Baba. Brings me to Alanis's voice, because I love Jagged Little Pill, but I know those songs are mostly demos, basically, with 1 or 2 vocal takes, so I never like loved her vocals on that album. I loved the songs, but I never really loved her vocals. And somewhere in that touring of 2 years nonstop, and I guess growing, her voice matured so much. I find her voice on this album as another instrument. Like, she really has tuned her ear into figuring out all the different aspects of her voice. She has the kind of gruff voice that she needs, and then she's also capable of like just making this really lovely notes. And I think her voice just actually is quite beautiful sometimes. There's something about this album, there's a deeper production. The album feels fuller, it feels like it has more body to it. And her voice, man, I love her voice. I don't think her voice has ever been captured on any of her other records as well as it's been captured here. And I do think that's true, I mean that. So anyway, yeah, this album clicked something on in my 18-year-old brain. It really, I think it probably was the thing that switched me from wanting to only listen to performers and really start kind of clocking singers-songwriters and kind of narrowing my focus a little more of like, what can an artist do with an album? You know, as opposed to like 4 singles for radio and a bunch of filler. Like, this album made me think about albums as bodies of work. You know, when you get the artwork and the songs and the artist at a specific time in their life and it all kind of works in conjunction together, it's like such a beautiful, interesting snapshot of where an artist is at that moment in their career. And so yeah, this album is the first one where I really was like, hey man, like there's more to this than just 3 radio singles and filler. So for that, Alanis, I want to say thank you. You know? Now, is the album perfect? No. Is it too long? Yeah, probably. Does it seem like we're sitting in Alanis' therapy session sometimes? Yeah. Yeah. Does Alanis sometimes stretch and contort the English language to fit into her melodies? Yes. And you know what? I fucking love it. Everything weird and idiosyncratic about her as an artist is on this record, and those are the qualities that I love. The flaws are the very things that I love about this album. So I have to be honest with you guys. The reason I started this series and the reason I started collecting vinyl, I joked about a midlife crisis, but there's something honest in there. There's really something that I've lost these last few years. When I was a kid, I would buy cassettes, I would buy CDs, and I would lay in bed. I would listen to the lyrics, I would read the lyrics, I'd have the booklet in my face, and I would sink into the world of the album, and music felt real, it was moving, it was transportive. And somewhere along the way with the digital, I lost my love for music. Music became ephemeral in the worst way. Something got lost. I lost something. And so this vinyl collection that I've started is my attempt to claw my way back into having music feel physical again. I want albums to mean something again. I want music to mean something again. I want to be able to lay in bed and really feel like I'm having an experience with an artist's body of work. I don't want music to feel ephemeral. I don't want to feel like music is just a bunch of ones and zeros. I want to feel like music is physical again. I have to like take care of these physical things that I now own. And I feel like I own them. I don't feel like I'm renting ones and zeros from iTunes. I feel like I'm owning something again, which is beautiful. And it makes the albums feel weightier. You know, I've watched like probably 7 videos on YouTube on how vinyl's made and how the records are created. I still don't fucking understand it. And I love that. It's fucking witchcraft to me. It's alchemy. I'm very excited. I hope that you guys will continue to, when I say guys, I mean guys, girls, theys, thems, hims, her, all y'all. Come on in, non-binaries, everybody. But I really hope that you all will join me on this journey, starting this collection, listening to albums that I love, and just chatting a little bit about them, and trying to give you a ghost or a memory of what was going on at the time when this album found me, or when I found the album. Because, you know, sometimes music finds you. You don't always find the music, it finds you. All this to say, I'm really happy to be intentional about music again. Not just pressing a button and suddenly I own something, but actually going down to the record store with excitement to buy something. And I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much. I hope you're all safe and having a great day. And please in the comments, like, let me know, what was your first concert? Oh yes, what was your first concert? And was there an album attached to it? Do you have that on vinyl? What's that experience been for you? I would love to hear your guys' stories about that. So hope to hear from you soon, and I will see you in the next video. Boing!